There are paths not made of asphalt, dirt, or stone. Some trails are drawn upon the soul. The Stations of the Cross is one of these sacred trails, a journey where every step is an open wound, every image is a suspended tear, and every station, a heartbeat from God in the face of human suffering. But this is not only about Jesus, it's about you, about me, about all of us. The way of the cross was never meant to be watched. It was meant to be lived. It doesn't just happen on the walls of a church. It unfolds inside the very flesh of the world. In every injustice, in every fall, in every silent pain that no one sees. It's a prayer walked with your feet, your eyes, and your heart. It begins with an uncomfortable silence. A man stands before a tribunal, eyes lowered, shoulders exposed. He doesn't resist, he doesn't scream, he simply accepts. Jesus is condemned to death. But what he carries is not just a wooden cross. It's the weight of every human guilt that never found forgiveness. He doesn't refuse it, he embraces it. The wood touches shoulders that once healed the sick, blessed the children, and embraced sinners. Now those same shoulders bleed. And in seeing this, we understand. True love is the kind that chooses to suffer, even for those who may not deserve it. When he falls the first time, the stones of Jerusalem become an altar. God's hands touch the dust. The Creator has fallen. Eternity bends low. And through this gesture, he teaches us that even stumbling can be holy when done for love. In a fleeting moment, the eyes of mother and son meet. Mary is there. She doesn't speak. She doesn't stop it. She doesn't shout. But her gaze is both knife and flower. She knows that every drop of blood on that sacred face also bleeds in her chest. A silent encounter yet full of invisible words. A love that suffers in silence. Then, amidst the crowd, a man is pulled by fate. Simon of Cyrene. He wasn't planning to carry any cross that day, but the weight finds him. Jesus' sweat mixes with his, and when the two share the burden, heaven bends low, because no one walks alone, not even God. Simon discovers that by touching the pain of another, we touch Christ himself. Next, a woman steps forward, breaking through guards and shame. Her name is Veronica. She doesn't preach, she doesn't shout, she doesn't perform miracles. She simply wipes, a small gesture, a cloth, a touch, and on that fabric, the most sacred face the world has ever known, is imprinted. Veronica teaches us that sometimes true faith is in the little things, in the gestures no one sees. In the love, no one applauds, but the road is still long. Jesus falls again, the second time, harder, more painful. Because now the body feels not only the weight of the cross, but of abandonment. And yet he rises again, as if saying, I will go to the end, even if my knees fail. He looks at the women of Jerusalem. They weep, and he, though torn apart, thinks of them. Do not weep for me, he says. Weep for yourselves. Because his pain redeems, but ours must still be transformed. He warns, he consoles, he teaches, even in dying. Then comes the third fall, the final collapse. And this one echoes like agony. Pain at the edge, heaven in silence. The universe watches its creator kiss the ground one more time, but again he rises, not with human strength, but with the certainty that everything is reaching its end, or better yet, a new beginning. By now the cross is no longer just wood, it's part of his body, embedded in his skin, tearing through the bone, and still he moves forward. This isn't just an ancient journey, it's our journey. How many times have we been unjustly condemned? How many times have we carried burdens that weren't ours? How many times have we fallen with no one to help us up? The Stations of the Cross, above all else, are a mirror. It doesn't matter if you pray these stations in a monastery, a humble chapel, or alone at home. Every image, every step, every wound of Christ is a personal invitation. Come with me, enter into my story. Let your cross find meaning in mine. The ground of the Via Dolorosa is stained with blood and glory. The stones have heard screams and prayers, and each station is a letter God wrote with his own body. This is the power of the Stations of the Cross. They don't just tell a story, they let the story pass through you. And this journey is far from over. The path reaches its most cruel point. The air grows heavy, screams fade into whispers, and then comes the moment of utter humiliation. Jesus is stripped before the crowd, the 10th station. There before all, the Son of God stands naked, And it's not just his body that's exposed, it's his dignity being torn along with his garments. How many times has this also happened to us? When peace is taken from us, when our name is dragged through the mud, when we're left defenseless, Christ goes through it first, so that we are never alone when it happens. The wood lies on the ground, the ropes tighten around his wrists, the nails catch the light, and then a sound slices through the world, the sound of iron tearing into flesh. Jesus is nailed to the cross. There is no metaphor here, only pain, raw, brutal, real. The cross is raised, the sky darkens, blood runs down, and in that terrifying image, something divine happens. Love becomes eternal. Jesus is not merely dying, he is offering himself voluntarily, without revenge, without hatred, only love. From the cross, he still speaks, still teaches, still loves. Father, forgive them. He prays for those who crucify him. And when he turns to the thief beside him, he says, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Even at the height of his agony, he opens doors. Even in death, he welcomes. Time stands still. The world holds its breath, and then with one final cry, Jesus dies on the cross. The 12th station, the most sacred moment in all of human history. The Son of the Most High falls silent. The heavens weep. The earth shakes. The temple veil tears. Death, which always seemed to be the end, now carries the seed of new life. At the foot of the cross stands Mary, silent, unshaken, strong as a rock, bleeding from within. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus arrive. With reverence, they lower the body of Jesus, the 13th station. The body, once filled with life, now rests in the arms of his mother. A moment that breaks the heart. God, dead, in the arms of the one who said yes from the beginning. And even in death there is tenderness. They wrap him in linens, prepare his body with care, announce silently that this is not the end. The 14th station reminds us, Jesus is laid in the tomb, a stone is rolled into place, the grave is sealed, silence returns. But now it's a silence holding promises, because everyone who walks this way of the cross knows the story doesn't end at the tomb. It's impossible to make this journey and come out the same. With every station, a part of us has been touched, broken, healed. The way of the cross is not only about Christ. It's about what he awakens inside you. Your pain, your falls, your unnoticed kindness, your fears, now they echo in the sacred steps of this journey. And if you've made it this far, it means something inside you has walked too. Maybe you've remembered moments when you fell, when you were humiliated, when you helped someone and no one noticed, when you cried silently, or carried burdens no one saw. And maybe you realized that he was there all along. So I want to ask you something. Leave a comment below. Which station of the cross moved you the most? Which part of this journey echoed in your life story? This space below is an extension of our prayer, right from the heart, because maybe your story is the strength someone else needs today. And if this message touched your heart in any way, subscribe to the channel. Not because we want numbers, but because we want to build a community that walks together. Here, every video is a station, every story a step, every person who comments, prays, shares is a new Simon, a new Veronica, a new Mary. This way of the cross belongs to all of us, and every time someone hears, shares, or lives this message, a new light shines in the world. The cross has been sealed in the tomb. The sacred body rests wrapped in linen and silence. Everything seems finished. The disciples weep. Mary stands firm, her eyes turn to the heavens, and the world waits. But even now, when all seems lost, a secret whispers among the stones. This story is not over. Because the true power of the stations of the cross lies not only in the memory of pain, but in what that pain reveals. A love without limits. A God who did not remain on a high throne but came down to feel our falls, touch our wounds, and carry our cross. And when we truly understand this, something shifts within us. The stations of the cross is an eternal invitation. It calls you to walk, not with your feet but with your heart. It doesn't matter if you've walked this path 1,000 times, or if today was your first. Every time you contemplate these stations with faith, something sacred happens. Christ walks with you, and you begin to see your own suffering with different eyes. The world is full of invisible crosses. People carrying burdens no one sees, souls crying silently for relief, for comfort, for meaning. And maybe as you watched this journey, someone came to your mind, or maybe you saw your own story reflected. That's why I want to extend a special invitation. If something moved you during this video, if any of these stations touched your heart, share your thoughts in the comments. Speak from within. Tell us what you felt, what you remembered, what you learned. Someone, somewhere may need to read exactly what you have to say. Your story might be someone else's strength. And if this message touched you, subscribe to the channel. But not as someone who simply clicks a button. Subscribe as someone saying, I want to walk this path with you. Because here, we don't speak about faith from a pedestal. We walk beside each other. In every video, every prayer, every reflection, we strive to be a bridge between your pain and the heart of God. This channel is not mine. It belongs to all of us, to everyone who believes that faith can transform, that the cross can teach, and that hope can rise even after death. If you appreciated this video, like it, share it, and leave a comment. But more than that, bring this message to someone who needs it. Perhaps today, someone out there desperately needs to hear that the cross is not the end. And before you go, leave your testimony here. How have the stations of the cross spoken to your life? In which station did you feel God looking at you? What did you learn today? We read every comment with care, we pray for you, and together we continue the journey. Because the road goes on, and those who walk with Jesus never walk alone.